I think you said it. It's taking back control of your money. You see, what a lot of people don't realize is the entire system, banking, Wall Street, all of it, the institution, you'll call it, is designed against you. It's rigged against you. And if you play the game the way they want you to play it, make money, trade hours for dollars, deposit money in the bank, borrow from the bank for all the things you need, you're going to have a very hard time getting ahead in life because every single thing is stacked against you.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Bursey, and today we have a distinguished guest who bridges financial empowerment with private capital strategy. We're sitting down with Chris Naugle, the force behind BYOB, Money School and Private Money Consulting. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. An honor to be here.
It is just wonderful. And before we dive into the how, I want to know about the who. For those just meeting you and maybe not familiar with your world, tell us the path that led you into real estate and the core mission that drives your work today.
It certainly probably wasn't the normal path. As a young kid, I was a big BMX and skateboard kid. The movie Rad was the single most influential movie of my life, and that led me down a path to becoming a pro snowboarder. And in doing the snowboarding career, what I found is I needed to buy time because I had jobs to pay for the snowboarding before I was getting paid doing it. And all those jobs took me away on the weekends when the competitions were. So I started my own company in my mom's basement at the age of 16. It was just a clothing line, which then expanded into a chain of skateboard, snowboard shops. I went on to be a pro snowboarder, and everything was literally like a dream until right around 1999, early 2000s, when the recession kicked in, the dot-com recession, first recession as a business owner, and my business took a tank, and I needed to find a job because I couldn't afford my bills. So I put my resume out, and the only people that responded during the recession was Wall Street. So I ended up putting the suit on that grandma got me. I went to the interviews, and that led me down the path of becoming a financial advisor. I spent 16 years as an advisor in many different capacities, very high-level capacities. Learned a lot about what not to do in today's realm. But in that journey, a couple other things happened. I went through another recession in 2008, which destroyed me. Didn't send me to bankruptcy, but I was this close. And one thing that happened in that is I had gotten into real estate because, well, really, real estate was a component of I needed a location for my retail stores, my skateboard, snowboard shops. So I bought a building and I completely remodeled it all, turned it into a 3-unit strip mall center. But I did that right before the Great Recession. And the Great Recession hit when we were at about the quarter point, about quarter of the way through the renovations and development. And it just destroyed me. I ended up getting through it. But after I got through that, things were very different. I never got my retail stores back on track. I ended up selling them in 2010. But right after the Great Recession, I'd read a bunch of books by Warren Buffett. He's always been a hero of mine. And one thing resonated. He said, buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. And he also said, when others are fearful, be greedy. So that's when I really made my move into real estate. So 2009, I started buying apartment buildings, pennies on the dollar. And I would literally scrape together money, take loans from my 401k, take loans from my life insurance, and I'd use that for deposits. And then I did this. I got up to 36 units. And then in 2014, the bank that gave me all the loans for all those properties slammed the door in my face, said they wouldn't give me any more loans, froze one of my lines of credit.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Which sent me in a tailspin. I had to sell all those properties. And then that's when me and my wife, things were rough. That was like one of the darkest moments of my life. And during that period of time, that's when me and my wife started flipping houses. And then we got the idea to do a TV show. And then we actually got the TV show on HGTV. During that, I met some high profile, high level people. And that's what turned me on to BYOB. So a really wealthy guy that lent me money. I asked him one day, I said, so how do you lend all this money? And he said, well, I lend from my own private banking system. And lo and behold, that's how I learned about the infinite banking concept, about be your own banker. And that has literally been from that moment when the show did go in 2018, we aired on HGTV, Risky Builders was the name of it. But the show didn't go on to series after that. So I had burned all the boats. I had left the financial advisory business, sold my practice. I had sold my retail stores. I sold that strip mall, and we were just flipping houses all in. And then the TV show didn't go. I literally just didn't know what I was going to do. So because of the infinite banking concept, I realized an opportunity to go out there and teach people. And I was shown the way by my mentor. And that led me to where I'm at now with the largest privatized banking company in the United States and lots of other things. But that's my journey in a nutshell.
What a journey. Twists and turns
It has
and
been.
pivoting quickly and taking negatives and transforming them into positives. I love it. Chris, your work focuses heavily on the become your own bank, BYOB philosophy. What is the single most critical factor for individuals to assess when deciding to take control of their capital and essentially become their own bank?
I think you said it. It's taking back control of your money. You see, what a lot of people don't realize is the entire system, banking, Wall Street, all of it, the institution, you'll call it, is designed against you. It's rigged against you. And if you play the game the way they want you to play it, make money, trade hours for dollars, deposit money in the bank, borrow from the bank for all the things you need, you're going to have a very hard time getting ahead in life because every single thing is stacked against you. And when you really think about like what be your own banker is about, it's about taking back the banking functions in your life. Effectively, everything you would use a bank for, you take back control of that. Now, here's the single most important thing I can tell you about be your own banker. In your life, said by the late Arnel Sinash, he said, you finance everything in your life, whether you know it or not. And he's true. You're either buying things and using other people's money, other banks' money, and then paying them interest on that money, or you're saving money yourself and then using your money to buy things, which you indeed then are giving up interest that you could earn on the money that you had prior to buying the goods and services. So when you think of those two components, your capacity for finance throughout your life is one of the largest capacities that you'll ever have when it comes to money. So taking control of that, taking all that interest back makes a whole lot of sense. And then the mechanisms around it are very simple. And I know this isn't going to make sense, and I don't want to go too deep into it yet, and maybe we'll get there, but effectively, you eliminate the bank. You change one thing That is where your savings, notice I didn't say all your money, your savings goes first. You use insurance companies, giant mutually owned life insurance companies. Now, I know that sounds completely backwards, but you know what? The wealthiest families throughout history didn't think it was backwards, namely the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Morgan Stanleys, Walt Disney, Ray Kroc. They all understood this and used this in their daily lives and business. They didn't deposit their wealth in banks. They deposited their wealth in insurance companies through a vehicle that we all have access to, but we very few of us know and understand how to do this. But it's whole life insurance, but it's specially designed whole life. It's not the same whole life you buy to protect your family or you buy from your advisor agent. It is custom built and engineered for banking.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
So then you deposit money in that. Now, this is the reason you do this, and I'm going to keep it very simple, and this is taking back that banking function in your life. When you put money into a whole life policy, that money grows at a guaranteed interest rate. These are mutually owned companies, therefore you get a dividend every year. And by today's numbers, 2026, that dividend crediting rate is 5.9 to 6.6 for the companies we use. You can already tell that's significantly more than you're getting in the banks or any other place where you have guarantees. But here's the real reason. The insurance company in the contract allows you to use your money anytime you want. Okay, so you have full liquidity and control of your money without taking your money out of the interest-bearing account. In other words, if your money's compounding now, remember I said what most people do, they save money up, then they take the money out of the bank and they buy the thing they want, which means they stop the compounding nature of their money. But imagine here in the policy, when you take money out, the insurance company loans you part of your death benefit and they collateralize it with the amount of money you have in your account. So now you have access to capital, the ability to use the capital to buy real estate, do private lending, pay off debt, buy cars, whatever it is, but you never lost the interest earning potential on all of your money. So your money continues to compound uninterrupted while you get to go and buy the things that you would. And then the last piece to it, and this is like one of the most important things, you never steal from your bank. So if I take money from my policies to buy a car, I make a car payment on that car, but I make a car payment for the exact same monthly payment as the car dealership or the lease would cost me, but I pay it back to my policy, back to my banking system. So no matter what, whether it's real estate, airplanes, cars, heck, laundry machines, whatever it is you buy, you get all the money back for every single thing because it can happen no other way. Plus, your money never stopped earning. So again, it's very logical and simple to understand. The mechanisms of how it works is just like a circle, and you create an infinite loop for your money, and you are the recipient at the end of all the money. You never leak any more interest in your life.
Chris, that's key insight. Focusing control over access and understanding cash flow velocity is fundamental to true financial independence. That was broken down so
100%.
nicely. So
Thank you.
nicely. And if you could walk us through this, you run the money school focused on financial education. What is one non-negotiable mindset shift every real estate pro must adapt to right now to move from being simple consumer of capital to strategic capital management?
You have to say, well, there's a lot of things I could say, but let me just start with you have to learn how to say no more than you say yes. I think that is one thing real estate investors specifically make the mistake on. Deals and opportunities come at them and they just think everything's an opportunity. So they say yes to everything. And then all of a sudden they find themselves backed into a corner when one little thing goes wrong. And listen, I know this because I made this mistake as a real estate investor. I think it's important that every real estate investor has to start learning to say no a lot more because then that will give you the capacity of your life, time and money to say yes to the things that are right and then skip all the other things. There's a lot of noise. And I think that's one key principle that real estate investors need to do a much better job of.
Absolutely. Moving beyond the traditional banking model to seeing oneself as the architect, perhaps, of private loans is how you unlock massive potential.
Yes.
And Chris,
Well,
if you could elaborate on that just a little bit, please.
yeah, I'm just thinking my thoughts. So private capital is probably one of the most important things in unlocking access to it. So we talked about being your own bank, but you know what? A lot of times people are just at the early stages of being their own bank and they haven't capitalized enough to actually take down a big real estate deal. So then they do have to go to the source of, okay, now I need money for this deal. Where am I going to get it? Well, I did, in my time as a flipper, when we had our show, we did 274 flips.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I got really, really good at this. And here's how I figured it out. I had gone to the bank so many times to borrow money that I learned that every bank I ever went to, community bank, credit unions, and regular banks, they had a formula. And the formula was quite simple to understand. They'd give you a piece of paper on all the things they'd need, and then you'd leave the bank, you'd get all that stuff ready, you'd bring it all back, and then the bank would look at it, then give you a pre-approval, and then you go into underwriting, right? So I said, why waste the time of going back and forth with the bank when I know what the bank's going to ask? So I built what was called the perfect loan proposal, which all it was is everything every bank wanted and then a couple extra things. I slapped it together into a very unified template that was very easy to duplicate over and over and over again with different deals. And then I started using that at the banks. And the banks started saying things like, I've never seen anything this thorough in my life. I've never seen somebody present an opportunity or a deal like this before. And I started saying, wow, I can't believe I'm the only one that thought of this. So then I took that same model and I said, all right, well, if it works for the banks, will this work for my neighbor? Will this work for my coworkers? Will this work for just normal everyday people that want to make a couple more bucks? Because why am I paying the bank 8 to 10% when I can pay my neighbor, who I actually like, 8 to 10%? So I took that same perfect loan proposal and I started presenting it just to individuals. And at first I had to practice, had to figure out how to do it, how to make it seem that it wasn't, like some sales pitch or something like that. And here's how I did it. And I said this to you offline. I said, I started to understand the problem I was solving before I went into the thing. So my neighbor, I knew some of the problems my neighbor had financially. So then I just said, okay, I can solve that problem. My neighbor doesn't like car payments. That's why he's always got used cars. But I said, what if he could get a new car and I would make his car payment? I'll pay for your car every single month. Like, you just go pick out whatever car you want. As long as it's within this range, I'll make your car payment. And then the trade-off was all he needed to do was go into his retirement account and lend me money, which he had a self-directed IRA, lend me the money, and then I would pay him. Now, there's a lot of things around that. He was over 59 and a half, so on and so forth. But let's just say that was just money he had in the bank. He lends me the money on my real estate deal that I presented to him in the perfect loan proposal, but I didn't start with just presenting the deal. I started with, what was his problem? How can I solve it? His problem was he needed a new car for his wife. True story. He needed a new Volkswagen. I don't remember what it was. Jetta, we'll call it, for his wife. And the payment was like $550 a month. And he kept complaining about this. And I basically said to him, I said, Rick, what if I make the payment for Sue's car? And he said, that's a silly, why? I said, well, because what if I could solve that problem and yet you solve a problem for me? And he said, well, what because then he's kind of on the standoffish side, because I'd never had these discussions with him. So when I said it, I said, okay, well, I'm a real estate investor, as you know, and I buy properties and I usually borrow from the banks. But instead of borrowing from the bank this time, what if you became the bank? What if you lend me the money, which you have, and I knew that he had it. You lend me the money on this. I'll give you a first lien position. The mortgage that you normally would sign to the bank, I'll give that to you. So you will have first right and first lien position on this property. And then every month I'll make payments to you for whatever this car payment is. And as long as we keep doing this, because we kind of created almost like a line of credit, as long as we keep doing this, I'll keep making the payments on the car. So we did that deal. And then we did another deal and another deal. And I took that model and I took it to the next person and the next person. Pretty soon I had tons of private lenders and I had more money than I had deals. I mean, sounds like a good problem, but that's where I made a lot of mistakes. That whole model of what I just described is what I started money school to be, is true financial education on how money really works. Be your own bank, private lending, but just bare bone basics. And the basics always started with, how do I solve somebody else's financial problem? And that was it.
Compelling. Chris, interested to know, very curious, as a leader in private money consulting, what is the most common mistake real estate investors make when structuring and seeking private capital for their deals? And what simple system can help them avoid it in your eyes?
There's a lot of mistakes, and we have over 10,000 people in privatemoneyclub.com, so I get to see this a lot. And one of the big mistakes that people make, or real estate investors make, especially early on in their careers, is they think that the deal that they have is the best deal ever, and they think that the deal is everything. The thing that they need to start doing, just like I explained with Rick and Sue, that example of my neighbors, the thing real estate investors need to do is sell themselves. Okay. The deal is the deal is the deal. It's either makes sense or it doesn't. Like, it either appraises and, meets the LTV, or ARV, or, whatever, however you're valuing it. It either hits the metrics or it doesn't. That's great. But don't put all your eggs in the deal, because the deal isn't really what the lender, myself, or anybody else is looking at. We're looking at you. Sell yourself. Why should I lend you money? Why, we got through the deal, but why are you a good candidate? Why will you be a good steward of my money? And this is what real estate investors don't do a good job of. They think the deal is all they're selling. They're not. That's why you don't get funded, because you think that everybody's just going to look at the deal the way you are. I'm not looking at your deal. I don't care anything about your deal. It would take me 5 minutes or less to tell you whether I would lend on your deal or not. After that, I need you to sell me you. Why are you going to be a good steward of my money? Why am I going to not have to worry about ever receiving a payment? And when things go wrong, and they will go wrong, how are you going to make sure that my checks continue to come to me? And how are you going to make sure that I get my money back? Because a lender, I don't care if it's a bank, an institution, or an individual, they're all going to ask one thing, or well, three things, but they're all thinking one thing. Those three things are, what's in it for me? Which is easy. Oh, I'll pay you 12% on your money. I'll pay you 15%. I'll pay you 12% in 3 points, whatever that is. The second thing we're going to look at, okay, is we're going to look at, okay, so that's what's in it for me. Second, we're going to look at what happens if things go wrong. Do you have resources? How are you going to make good on this? That's number two. And number three, what are your exit strategies that's going to give you my money back? So if you can't answer all three of those with a pretty logical explanation in a very quick period of time, then you're done. You're not getting my money, and you're probably not going to get any other private lender's money. You have to come at it from selling yourself and why I'm never going to have to worry about getting my money back. And it has nothing to do with the deal. It has everything to do with your character.
Chris, I completely agree. Building a robust, well-documented funding package that clearly outlines the exit strategy that you talked about is how you build confidence with private lenders. Couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
And I've got to ask you this. This has been on my mind ever since we booked you. In today's rapidly changing environment, how can a real estate investor, particularly one focused on using private capital, effectively build and maintain a professional legacy brand that continuously attracts high-quality funding partners?
Well, I mean, to be honest, how do you do it? You do what you say you're going to do. Through hell and high water, you do what you say you're going to do. And the best way for me to answer this is through a story. So there's a real estate investor that I've been lending money to now for 8 years. Okay. And when I first started lending money to him, he wasn't a big investor. He was just a normal guy from down south. Didn't have fancy things, didn't have fancy, nothing fancy about him whatsoever. But I lent to him, and you know what? Every month I got a check early. Not on time, not a couple days late. Every month, the check showed up a few days early. And I thought it was coincidence, but then after deal, every single time, if the due date was the 15th, I got a check by the 5th. And he continuously did this. When the deal was like, coming up on expiration, I never ever had to worry that he was going to pay me late. He always fulfilled on what he promised he would do. Now later I came to be good friends with this individual. Now he's a big real estate investor. I don't know how many units he has, but it's a lot. And I've had many conversations with him. And here's the funny thing. He has built one hell of a legacy. I mean, a monster legacy for his kids and for his wife. He's got a great reputation and a great name. But here's the thing I never knew. On a lot of the deals I lent money on, he lost money. And he had to sell things. He would have to sell vehicles, like back in the early days, his family's vehicles, to make me whole. I never knew this because the check always showed up early. And I always got paid on time. I always got my money back on time. What I never, ever knew was he went through hell and high water, and he gave up a lot to make sure that his lender, never, ever had to worry. So you ask, how do you create a legacy? That's how you do it. No matter how hard things got for him, he always took the risk. He always dealt with the problem, and he never made it my problem. And because of that, I continue to lend to him. And so do a lot of my investor groups lend to him. And his career is just blossoming. And, let me go one step further.
Sure.
In light of, like, let's say the whole market turns, which it is right now, and let's say we go into a recession, he's not going to have a hard time finding money. A lot of investors are, but he isn't. So he would be the one that would have access to capital to be able to buy the deals at significantly discounted prices, because obviously during a recession, pricing all comes down to meet supply or to meet demand. And he's going to be able to be buying those. A lot of the people won't, because they made their problems somebody else's. And that is the biggest mistake.
Talk about a sharp pivot. Building that legacy hinges on authentic transparency and delivering on consistently exceptional communication experience across all deal cycles. Chris, for investors looking to optimize their private capital dividing this year, what specific niche or type of deal structure are you seeing the most opportunity in right now?
Oh, this just came to me. There's a group whose name I'll leave out of it that has this really unique strategy. And what they do is they go find, it's affordable housing. They go find these really crappy houses. And I got to be honest, like, they're crappy. And even when I first heard about it, I'm like, there's no way these houses exist at that price, because it's $30,000. Like, that's the most that they'll ever pay for a house. And I'm like, you can't even get $30,000 house. I live in Buffalo and you can't get 30,000. He said, you'd be surprised. He said, go to Zillow and type it in, put 30,000 or under, and look at how many come up. He said, those are the houses we buy. So what they do is they buy these houses. They then go out there and they find an end buyer. And the end buyer for a $30,000 house clearly is somebody that's renting. They can't really afford much right now because the rental market is so expensive, and they want home ownership. So he gives them the ability to have home ownership. He borrows in $30,000 increments, pays 12% interest over a 5-year amortized schedule, and then so that I would lend 30 grand. I get paid my money. Okay. And is it less than I could make on other deals? Yeah, but it's more secured, and it's a 5-year run, right? So small amount of money, 5 years, I know I'm getting paid. What he does then, and he flips and does a 30-year mortgage at a high interest rate, like 10%. And if you understand how mortgage amortization works, you don't need to see how he's making money. He's making a boatload of money. He's taking the risk of the tenant, or not the tenant, but the person he sold the house defaulting, to which then he has it all set up. He does it in states. It's very easy for him to get him out. And then he just finds the next buyer. But me as the lender, I never know the difference. I never know what's going right or wrong with the house. Doesn't matter. I get my check. And I think that is one of my favorite things I've seen recently, because in the midst of everything happening, people are pinched. They have money, but they might not have the 300, 400, 600,000 that a lot of people need. But I don't know many investors that don't have 30 grand in a self-directed IRA, 30 grand in cash value, 30 grand sitting around doing nothing. And they usually can't find a place to move 30 grand and park it and have it go to work. And that fills that niche. So I think if any investor can find a way to fill two needs. Number one, the affordable housing need, because that's a big need in this country right now, but also find that niche to kind of take small amounts of money like that in first lien positions and just promise just give a really, you can't promise, but give a really good, track history of how the money's going to come back. I think you win every day that way because it's almost hard to lose.
Specialized sectors that address essential services or
Very.
offer clear short term liquidity often provide the necessary cushion
Yeah.
in uncertain times. I couldn't agree with you more.
Scott, one other thing too on that is there's another gal on Private Money Club who does mobile homes, and she does. They're not fancy, they're nothing nice. She goes in and renovates them, but like small dollar amounts, like 30 to 90 grand, and she's crushing it right now. But she, again, like you said, those niche little markets that a lot of investors don't want to be part of because it's not sexy, it's not flashy, it's not something you're going to take Instagram photos of. But they're the ones winning the game right now.
Yeah. Chris, based on your experience advising thousands of investors, what is one habit or system that top performing private money real estate professionals implement that separates them from the rest? I got to know.
Oh, wow. What is one thing? They focus on risk reward profiles. I will say, and let me quantify that or make that simple. They focus on the risk more so than they do the reward. All the really successful people that I know, they're not out there chasing the biggest payout on a deal. Like they're not looking at the 20%, deal. They're going out there and looking for the one that has the least amount of risk. Even if the return is less, they're taking a lower return in exchange for a lot less risk. Those are the ones that I have seen consistently and persistently through different economic cycles win the game. It's the ones that swing for the fence, the Babe Ruths, and I know we all know Babe Ruth, but look at how many times he struck out. Those are the people that just continually ride this cycle of they've got money and then they don't have any money. Then they've got money and they don't have money. And you don't get ahead that way. It's the people that are making the small incremental like gains, just a little, I call them the inch stones. They're moving the stone an inch at a time, not trying to move it a mile at a time. They're the ones that win consistently and persistently. And also those are usually the same investors that understand compounding interest, and they fully understand what Albert Einstein said about it. He said it was the eighth wonder of the world, the most powerful thing in the financial world. If you understand compounding interest and how to have your money compound uninterrupted, you're going to always win. It's going to be a slow win is all.
Sure. Perfect advice. Daily discipline around vetting potential lending partners and protecting time for continuous financial education drives the highest results. Chris, thank you
Mhm.
so much for sharing that expertise.
You're welcome.
We've covered a lot of ground here today. Is there any specific nugget or advice you'd like to give our listeners?
Yeah, there's two pieces of advice, and I heard these a long, long, long time ago. First one was it's never about your actual resources, it's about how resourceful you can be. So don't think that you need to have a bunch of money to be successful. What you've got to be is you've got to be the type of person who's resourceful, but also the type of person who knows how to create opportunities and create solutions to problems. That's first. And the second is just a quote from, a quote that I've lived by that I will oh my God, why am I forgetting who did it? But nonetheless, it said that the biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. It said the biggest problem is what people think that they know that just ain't so. In other words, be very careful who you take advice from and be very observant of the things that you don't know not being the problem. It's what you think you know that's going to get you in trouble.
Chris, I know a lot of people are going to want to pick your brain. And for our listeners who would like to follow your journey, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, they can go to beyourownbanker.com. Okay, that's a good resource, and that will get you to all my social pages, which are at the Chris Naugle, and my number one is YouTube. We are very serious about our YouTube channel, so check it out. It's at the Chris Naugle.
There he is, Chris Nago, everybody. Chris, this has been a delight. Thank you for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you for joining us for our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you got value from today's episode, please subscribe. We have more conversations coming up with exceptional operators just like Chris. Until next time, keep your standards high and your vision clear. We'll see you in the next episode, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.